Today I am not going to teach you how to talk better or how to impress people with words. Today I am going to show you something far more powerful, something quieter, something that separates those who truly understand life from those who merely move through it. I am going to show you how to observe anyone without saying a word. Because in a world where everyone is speaking, posting, and performing, the rare person who can stay silent and still truly see is the one who holds the real power. Think about it for a moment. Every room you walk into is filled with people who are trying to be heard, who are trying to prove, to explain, to dominate with sound. But in that same room there is often one person who barely says anything, yet somehow knows everything. They read the energy before the words form. They sense the truth behind the smile. They notice the pause, the twitch, the tiny flicker that everyone else misses. That person is never the loudest, but they are almost always the wisest. You can become that person. When you learn to see without speaking, you start to understand the invisible side of human life. You notice that behind every statement there is a breath. Behind every breath there is emotion, and behind every emotion there is a story. Most people never reach that level of awareness because they are too busy preparing what to say next. But the one who can sit in silence with open eyes and a quiet mind begins to collect information that words could never deliver. Observation is not about judging, it is about perceiving. When you become the observer, you step out of the noise and into clarity. You no longer react to everything you hear. You begin to notice how people move, how they change when certain topics appear, how their energy rises or drops. You start to see patterns instead of random behavior. This is the art of awareness, and it begins the moment you stop needing to fill the silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a magnifying glass. When you remove your own noise, the world's details become sharper. You hear the tone shifts that betray emotion. You see the tiny contractions in facial muscles that reveal hesitation. You feel the rhythm of someone's breathing and you know, without them telling you, whether they are calm, nervous, excited, or hiding something. The body never lies. The voice may disguise, the mind may rehearse, but the body will always broadcast the truth through small signals. Observation is about learning to hear that body language, that silent music playing beneath the surface of every interaction. To reach that level of understanding, you must first train your own state of mind. Begin by releasing assumptions. Most people enter conversations already armed with judgments about appearance, status, reputation. But assumption is the enemy of observation. Real observation begins when you admit, I know nothing yet. The empty mind sees more because it has room to notice. When you meet someone, pretend you have never seen a person like them before. Watch them as if you are studying a new species, not with coldness but with genuine curiosity. Notice the way they occupy space, the way they look around, how they touch their own hands when thinking. Every movement is a clue. Next, learn to focus without forcing. You do not have to stare. Observation is not about making people uncomfortable, it is about receiving information naturally. Let your gaze be soft, as if you are taking in the whole scene rather than one point. When your eyes relax, your perception widens. You begin to notice movements on the edge of your vision, the restless foot, the shifting shoulder, the quick glance at the door. These side details are where truth hides, because people forget to control them. They are too busy managing their faces. The periphery tells the story. Now pay attention to rhythm. Every person has one. Some speak fast, move fast, think fast. Others are slow and deliberate. Watch how their rhythm changes when emotion hits. A confident speaker suddenly hesitates, a calm person starts tapping their foot, a cheerful face tightens for half a second before a question. These are shifts, and shifts are gold to an observer. They tell you that something inside changed. You may not know it yet, but you will know that it happened. Let's talk about the eyes. They are not windows to the soul so much as they are windows to attention. Where attention goes, emotion follows. When someone looks directly at you while speaking, they are aligned. When they glance away to the left or down, they may be remembering or feeling. When their eyes dart around quickly, they are searching, for words, for approval, for escape. Watch the pupils, they expand with interest and contract with discomfort. Watch the blink rate, it speeds with anxiety. These are small physical truths that reveal large emotional realities. Hands tell their own stories. Confident hands move openly, palms visible. Nervous hands hide, inside pockets, behind backs, under tables. Watch for hands touching the face or neck. Those are self-soothing gestures the body uses when the mind feels tension. When you see a hand move toward the mouth mid-sentence, you are witnessing hesitation or concealment. When you see fingers drumming or objects fidgeted with, you are witnessing energy trying to escape. None of this means you accuse, it means you notice. Even the feet speak. Few people ever control them consciously. A person's feet point toward what they want and away from what they fear. In conversation, if the upper body faces you but the feet angle toward the exit, the conversation is already over in their mind. If both feet aim squarely at you and stay there, you have their full engagement. These cues are quiet but honest, and once you start noticing them you will wonder how you ever missed them before. Observation is not about memorizing lists of signals. It is about learning to feel patterns. When the body, voice, and energy align, truth is flowing. When they do not, something is off. A person saying "I'm fine" with tight shoulders and a strained smile is telling you everything without realizing it. Your role is not to expose but to understand. The observer's goal is insight, not judgment. As you practice, your silence will begin to change the people around you. When you stop filling space with constant words, others start to fill it for you. They talk more. They reveal more. Your calm attention becomes a mirror that invites honesty. This is one of the most powerful social effects of observation. People feel seen. They relax in the presence of someone who listens with their whole being. They open up because they sense you are truly there, not waiting to talk. That alone can transform relationships. To build this capacity, make observation a daily exercise. Wherever you go, train your awareness. On the bus, in a cafe, at work, watch without staring, listen without reacting. Notice the rhythm of places. Every environment has a tone, some buzz, some hum, some feel tense. Your goal is to detect that tone within seconds. The more you practice, the more sensitive you become to energy shifts. You will walk into a room and feel, even before speaking, whether joy or conflict lives there. That is perception at work. Observation begins outward but ends inward. As you watch others, start also to watch yourself. How do you breathe when nervous? Where do your eyes go when uncertain? How does your voice change when you want approval? Self-observation gives empathy. When you know your own patterns, you recognize them in others without arrogance. You stop assuming bad intent and start seeing shared humanity. Patience is your greatest tool. Real understanding takes time. A single gesture can mislead, but a pattern never lies. Spend enough time with a person and you will see their baseline, their natural rhythm when comfortable. Then, whenever that rhythm shifts, you will know something important has changed. That's when observation turns into insight. Silence is not passive. It is active awareness. It is the discipline of being fully present. Most people fear silence because it exposes them to their own thoughts. But when you train yourself to sit comfortably in it, you become powerful. You stop chasing control through words and begin gaining control through presence. Your stillness becomes influence. Others sense it and adjust unconsciously. That is the beginning of quiet authority. To keep your observation pure, cultivate empathy. Without empathy, observation becomes manipulation. Remember, you are learning to see people, not to use them. Use what you notice to connect, not to outsmart. The more compassion you bring, the more accurate your reading becomes, because compassion removes the fog of ego. You see clearly when you care sincerely. Eventually you will realize that observation is not something you do, it is something you become. You move through life aware, alert, awake. You notice beauty where others rush past it, the small kindness between strangers, the nervous courage of someone speaking up, the subtle sadness and laughter. You start to experience reality in high resolution. And in that awareness, wisdom grows. You begin to understand that the more you see, the less you need to speak. Your presence itself begins to communicate. People start to notice that when you enter a room, you change the energy without trying. You do it simply by being aware, by being quietly anchored while others are tossed around by their own noise. That calmness becomes influence. People sense that you are not rushing to impress or defend, you are simply there, observing, absorbing, understanding. They start to look toward you in uncertain moments because awareness feels safe. You become the still point in their chaos. Observation gives you foresight. You begin to anticipate what will happen because you have seen the small signs that predict it. Before someone raises their voice, you notice the tightening jaw. Before a meeting goes wrong, you sense the discomfort building in the posture of the group. What others call intuition is often just advanced observation. It is pattern recognition accelerated by silence. The more you practice, the more your instincts sharpen, and soon you will respond to life with timing that feels effortless. When you master observation, you also master patience. You stop needing immediate answers. You can wait, knowing that truth always reveals itself to the one who is watching carefully enough. This patience changes how you speak, how you lead, how you love. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop assuming and start understanding. And in that shift, your relationships transform. People feel seen by you. They feel that you actually hear what is behind their words, and that makes them trust you. That trust is the quiet foundation of every great connection. Let's take this understanding into practical life. Picture yourself at work, in a meeting where voices overlap, opinions clash, and everyone wants to be right. While others compete for space, you sit back slightly, watching. You notice who interrupts whom, who avoids eye contact when challenged, who listens but never speaks. You start to map the real hierarchy of that room, the social structure that exists beneath job titles. You see who holds influence, who feels ignored, who is quietly leading through presence alone. By the time others are arguing over surface issues, you already understand the emotional landscape. When you finally speak, you say the one thing that moves everyone forward. Not because you are clever, but because you are paying attention. The same applies in personal relationships. When you learn to observe, you no longer take everything at face value. You begin to hear the truth in tone rather than just in words. Someone says, "I'm fine," but you feel the drop in their energy, the way their breath shortens. You don't need to confront or demand, you simply know. You respond with patience, with gentleness, and that calm awareness often gives others permission to be honest. Observation becomes empathy in action. There is an art to listening between the lines. Words are only a small portion of communication, the rest happens in pauses, in gestures, in the quiet shifts of attention. When you train yourself to hear those, conversations become richer. You realize that silence within dialogue is not emptiness, it is texture. It is where people's real meaning lives. Most individuals speak to hide silence, an observer listens to what silence reveals. As your awareness deepens, you start to see life as a series of signals rather than surprises. The world begins to slow down for you. Moments stretch, details stand out. You notice that before someone acts, there is always a pre-signal, a breath, a look, a pause. That second of awareness becomes your advantage. You can navigate situations with calm precision because nothing truly catches you off guard anymore. Observation also teaches humility. The more you see, the more you realize how much lies beyond your control. You stop needing to dominate and start choosing to understand. You learn that every person carries invisible battles. The angry man might be afraid. The quiet woman might be holding back brilliance. The distracted friend might be lost in worry. Seeing this softens you. You become kinder, not because you are weak, but because you understand complexity. Observation turns judgment into compassion. To refine your ability, practice short bursts of total awareness each day. For 5 minutes, do nothing but watch. Notice how people walk, how they hold objects, how they greet one another. Notice colors, sounds, distances. You will realize that awareness is like a muscle, it strengthens with repetition. After a few weeks, you will begin noticing things automatically, the slight tremor in someone's hand, the change in their breathing when certain topics arise. You will start hearing what is not said. In this process, remember to protect your own energy. Deep observation can be draining if you absorb everything you see. The goal is to notice, not to carry. Imagine yourself as a mirror, everything reflects, nothing sticks. After you observe something intense, a conflict, a confession, take a moment to breathe it out. Let the emotion pass through you and return to stillness. That reset keeps your awareness clean and clear. Eventually, you will find that the discipline of observing others without words leads you to a larger discovery. You begin to observe life itself. You start noticing patterns in days, in seasons, in moods. You recognize that everything communicates, people, places, even time. You begin to live in tune with what is, rather than fighting what you wish were. This alignment brings peace. You stop chasing noise and start living with rhythm. Observation is a form of respect. It is saying to the world, I am here. I am paying attention. When you pay attention, life rewards you with understanding. You begin to see opportunities that others overlook, warnings that others miss, beauty that others rush past. Observation makes you both wiser and more grateful. You realize that every person, every situation, every ordinary moment contains layers waiting to be noticed. You simply needed to slow down enough to see them. You might think silence distances you from people, but the opposite is true. True observation connects you more deeply. When people sense they are genuinely seen, they feel valued. They open up. They become more authentic around you. Your presence becomes a sanctuary where honesty feels safe. And all you had to do was notice. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You stop performing. You start existing. And that authenticity is magnetic. People trust those who are quietly attentive because attention is love in disguise. When you give someone your full, wordless presence, you are giving them something rarer than advice. You are giving them space to be. With practice, observation begins to transform your own behavior as well. You start to notice how you react in various situations, how your own posture shifts when nervous, how your voice changes when excited or hesitant, how your eyes wander when uncertain. Self-observation is as important as observing others because it allows you to refine your presence. You learn to align your internal state with your external behavior, so your actions and words carry authenticity and clarity. The more you understand yourself, the better you understand others. Your awareness becomes a mirror reflecting both the world and your own inner life. Observation also enhances your ability to influence without force. True influence is subtle. It is not about commanding attention or asserting control. It is about creating an environment where others naturally follow the cues you set simply by being attentive, grounded, and present. When you notice what others need before they ask, when you sense their emotional state and adjust your energy accordingly, you create alignment. People feel understood and valued. They respond to your presence because it makes sense, not because you demand it. This is the quiet authority of an observer, a leadership born from understanding rather than assertion. In relationships, this skill is invaluable. When you notice micro-expressions, tone shifts, and subtle gestures, you understand the unspoken dynamics at play. Arguments can be avoided before they escalate because you perceive rising tension. Empathy becomes automatic because you detect emotions before they are articulated. Conversations flow more smoothly because you know when to pause, when to ask a question, and when to simply listen. Observation allows you to act as both a stabilizing force and a source of insight, giving people the confidence to be themselves around you. Observation is also a tool for learning. By paying attention to the subtle cues in others' behavior, you gather knowledge that books or lectures cannot provide. You begin to recognize patterns in decision-making, problem-solving, and emotional responses. You understand how different personalities react under pressure, how confidence manifests physically, and how uncertainty can be hidden behind carefully controlled expressions. This knowledge becomes a form of intelligence, allowing you to anticipate challenges, read situations accurately, and respond with wisdom. The practice of observing without speaking extends beyond individuals to groups and environments. Every team, every family, every social circle has its own rhythm. Some people naturally lead, others support quietly, and some resist subtly. Observation allows you to perceive these dynamics instantly. You notice who holds sway over decisions, who seeks validation silently, and who may feel marginalized. By simply observing, you understand the full scope of the interaction. When you act, it is with clarity, precision, and empathy. You are no longer caught in reactive cycles. Instead, you navigate relationships with awareness, shaping outcomes without needing to dominate the conversation. This mastery is earned through patience, attention, and a commitment to presence. Observation is not about perfection or constant analysis. It is about presence and intention. It is about being fully aware in the moment, noticing what is happening without judgment, and allowing understanding to emerge naturally. This approach trains patience in humility. You learn that not everything requires a response, not every action demands correction, and not every truth must be spoken. You become comfortable with the flow of events, noticing the rhythm of life as it unfolds, and responding only when your insight has clarity. This restraint is a hallmark of mastery. Over time, your perception of communication itself deepens. You realize that words are only a portion of what is being expressed. Tone, cadence, timing, and physical signals often reveal more than language. People communicate through movement, posture, and expression as much as they do through speech. The observer sees this broader landscape of interaction, interpreting meaning from the entire field rather than isolated words. Understanding becomes holistic. You perceive intentions, motivations, and emotions in ways that most people overlook. This comprehensive awareness allows you to engage with others more effectively, authentically, and compassionately. Observation also enhances emotional resilience. When you notice subtle cues, you anticipate challenges and respond without panic. You see tension forming before it erupts, you perceive confusion before it leads to mistakes, and you detect hesitation before it becomes indecision. This foresight allows you to act from a place of composure. You no longer react impulsively or emotionally because your awareness gives you the space to consider, understand, and choose. This calm presence not only benefits you, but it influences those around you, fostering stability and trust in your interactions. The deeper you go, the more observation teaches you about timing. You begin to sense the moments when speaking, acting, or intervening will have maximum effect. You learn when to remain silent and when your words will resonate most powerfully. Timing becomes intuitive because you have trained yourself to read subtle cues and patterns that others overlook. This skill transforms interactions, negotiations, and relationships, allowing you to operate with efficiency, insight, and grace. Finally, observation teaches you to appreciate life more fully. When you notice the details, the brief gestures, the fleeting expressions, the subtle tones, you begin to experience moments more vividly. Life becomes richer, not because the world has changed, but because your awareness has expanded. You see beauty in the ordinary, truth in the mundane, and connection in what others might consider trivial. Observation transforms your perception of reality, enhancing your presence, your understanding, and your appreciation for both people and the world around you. As your awareness deepens, you will notice that observation extends beyond others into your own life. You begin to perceive your own patterns, how your energy shifts, how your posture and gestures communicate before you even speak, how your emotions ripple through your presence. Self-observation is essential because it keeps your awareness honest. You recognize when your judgment is clouded, when impatience creeps in, and when your own ego seeks validation. By noticing yourself, you refine not just your understanding of others, but your understanding of yourself. This internal clarity strengthens every interaction, every decision, and every connection you make. The true power of observing without speaking lies in its subtlety. Influence does not come from dominance or force, it comes from presence, from understanding, and from timing. By noticing, listening, and perceiving, you naturally create alignment. People respond to your awareness without realizing it. They trust you because they feel understood. they follow guidance because it feels organic rather than imposed. Your silence becomes your authority, your stillness becomes your strength, and your attention becomes your gift to the world. Observation nurtures empathy. The more you notice, the more you understand the struggles, desires, and emotions of others. You begin to see that most actions, even those that seem frustrating or irrational, are driven by underlying needs, fears, and hopes. Understanding these hidden layers allows you to respond with patience and compassion. You are no longer easily provoked or misled by surface appearances. Instead, you engage with the deeper reality of each person and situation. Your connections deepen because you respond from insight rather than assumption. In social interactions, this skill transforms dynamics. You begin to perceive group energy, subtle alliances, and unspoken tensions. You notice who influences others quietly, who seeks validation without speaking, and who feels overlooked or constrained. By simply observing, you understand the full scope of the interaction. When you act, it is with clarity, precision, and empathy. You are no longer caught in reactive cycles. Instead, you navigate relationships with awareness, shaping outcomes without needing to dominate the conversation. This mastery is earned through patience, attention, and a commitment to presence. Observation teaches restraint as much as awareness. You learn that not everything requires a response, that some truths are revealed naturally over time, and that the act of noticing itself can be transformative. By allowing situations to unfold and understanding patterns before intervening, you respond from knowledge rather than impulse. Your silence becomes a tool of influence because it allows the world to speak first, giving you the insight to act with precision. Timing and patience, once learned, become second nature. Over time, observation changes how you perceive the world itself. Life becomes richer, more detailed, and more meaningful. You notice patterns in behavior, rhythm in conversations, and subtleties in interactions that others miss entirely. Ordinary moments gain texture and significance. Every gesture, glance, and pause conveys information. You see truth behind appearances, detect emotion beneath words, and understand intent beyond actions. Awareness becomes your lens for experiencing life in full resolution. This skill also strengthens your resilience. By perceiving the currents beneath human behavior, you anticipate challenges before they become crises. You recognize tension before it escalates, hesitation before it leads to error, and emotional shifts before they influence outcomes. Your calm presence becomes both a personal anchor and a stabilizing influence for others. Where others react impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. Where others are blindsided, you are prepared. Awareness becomes both protection and guidance. Ultimately, learning to observe without speaking leads to a profound understanding. Presence itself is transformative. Your quiet attention influences, guides, and nurtures the people and environments around you. You no longer rely on constant words to assert value or control. Instead, your awareness, patience, and understanding create subtle power. People trust you, confide in you, and respond to you naturally. This is the art of silent influence, the mastery that comes from seeing deeply, listening fully, and acting with purpose. As you continue on this path, you discover that observation is a lifelong practice. There's always more to notice, subtler cues to perceive, and deeper layers to understand. It is not a skill you complete, but a lens through which you live. Each moment becomes an opportunity to see more clearly, to respond more wisely, and to connect more authentically. Observation transforms your understanding of people, your relationships, your environment, and yourself. It is not simply a method, it is a way of being, a conscious, intentional way of living that elevates both perception and presence. In the end, the true reward of observing without speaking is insight. You gain knowledge that words cannot teach, understanding that conversation cannot convey, and clarity that ordinary attention cannot achieve. You see patterns, motives, and truths that others overlook. You feel the emotional undercurrents of every interaction. And through this clarity, you navigate life with greater effectiveness, empathy, and influence. Observation empowers you silently but profoundly, shaping your interactions, your decisions, and the world you inhabit. Remember, this is not about manipulation or control. It is about awareness and respect. By observing, you honor the complexity of human behavior and the depth of reality itself. You do not impose, judge, or interfere unnecessarily. You notice, you understand, and you act with intention. In this way, your silence is purposeful, your attention is meaningful, and your presence is transformative. Observation without words is the ultimate expression of respect, for yourself, for others, and for life itself. So, as you move forward, embrace the quiet power of observation. Step into rooms, conversations, and relationships with awareness as your guide. Notice the subtle shifts, the fleeting signals, the hidden truths. Trust that your understanding will grow as you continue to practice. Speak when it matters, act when it is needed, and remain still when observation is enough. Through this practice, you cultivate not only skill but wisdom. You develop not just influence, but integrity. And in every moment of attentive silence, you discover the profound truth: to see deeply is to understand fully, and to understand fully is to act with clarity, compassion, and purpose. This is the art of observing anyone without saying a word. It is a lifelong journey, a discipline of presence, and a path to profound understanding. It is a way to move through life fully awake, fully aware, and fully engaged. And as you embrace it, you become someone who sees more, understands more, and influences more, not through noise, but through the quiet mastery of awareness itself.